Rescuing the last two animals at the Mosul Zoo. Mosul's forlorn little zoo, a collection of rusted cages in a park near Tigris River, was abandoned by its keepers in October as the Iraq army began to liberate the city from the Islamic State. For 3 months, the zoo was a staggering ground for ISIS fighters. More than 40 of the zoo's animals died, either as collateral damage, trapped between warring combatants, or from starvation. By January, when the eastern half of Mosul was freed, only 2 animals had survived: Lulu, a caramel-colored female bear, and Simba, a 3-year-old male lion. Animals, like people, suffer from war psychosis, including PTSD. During the most intense urban combat in history, Lula ate her 2 cubs from hunger and stress. Simba had been one of 3 lions. Simba's father, weak and emaciated, was killed by his mate to provide food for herself and Simba. In the wild, lionesses hunt for the entire pride. She, too, soon succumbed. Concerned about the fate of Lula and Simba, residents in Mosul sent frantic Facebook messages to FOUR PAWS International, an animal protection agency based in Austria, appealing for help. In mid-February, the organization dispatched Amr Khalil to Mosul. Khalil is an Egyptian veterinarian who has spent a quarter-century saving animals in war zones on 3 continents. He found Lula deeply traumatized and starving. Her snout protruded through her cage's rusted bars, anxiously seeking food and water. Simba had grown so scrawny that his rib cage was exposed. He wouldn't stop pacing in his small enclosure. Animals feel, Khalil told me, and they can't understand what's going on when they hear all of these bombs and gunfire going off. They get irritated and nervous. They have better senses. They can hear better and smell better than humans. In the wild, a bear can smell a human from 14 kilometers away. Lula and Simba have lived for months on their own untended waste. The corpse of Simba's mother lay on the ground in front of his cage. Mosul Zoo was littered with carcasses in various states of decay. Lula and Simba were in very bad condition, Khalil said. We didn't know if they would even survive. If we did try to get them out, I had to improve their health first. A car bomb went off close by as he anesthetized Simba to begin an examination. ISIS snipers were also positioned near the zoo, which is close to the dividing line between the liberated eastern half of the city and the last ISIS bastion in the west. Khalil medicated both of the animals, then hired 4 Iraqis to provide food and water until the beasts were stronger and he could return with a plan to get them out. It took 2 months as the war raged on. Khalil went back to Mosul in late March with international travel certificates. He got Lula and Simba into large crates and moved them out of the city, only to be stopped at an Iraqi army checkpoint and ordered to return them to the ravaged zoo. The Iraqis demanded more documents. His second attempt in April was again blocked, this time for 9 days, with Lula and Simba stuck in their crates at the checkpoint, and no food available to feed them. One soldier handed 2 bullets to Khalil and suggested that he just shoot them. The saga ended on April 10th when he finally got clearance to fly Lula and Simba to Amman, Jordan. They were transferred to the New Hope Center, an animal rehabilitation facility. Lula was great. The first thing she did was jump at an apple and swim in a little pond of water, Khalil told me. I think she wanted a shower after 9 days in a crate. But Simba was more stressed. He was terrified. A week later, Simba still wouldn't leave the enclosure to explore the grassy fields of his temporary home. Once the 2 acclimate, the plan is to transfer them to Jordan's Al Mawa Wildlife Reserve, which was founded in 2015 by FOUR PAWS and the Princess Eli Foundation. It is the largest sanctuary for rescued and mistreated wildlife in the Middle East. I visit zoos in war zones wherever possible. The few surviving inhabitants are often forgotten victims of conflict. I tried to visit Lula and Simba when I was in Mosul in March, but the fighting near the zoo was too intense. The most pitiful war zone zoo I've ever been in was in Kabul in 1999. A family of elephants, along with more than 300 exotic animals, had perished, some to gunfire, others stolen for cooking pots, during the chaotic 4-year civil war and the 5 years of ruthless Taliban rule. It was painful watching Marjan, an aged lion who had been blinded by a grenade, Sambu, a black bear whose snout had been almost severed by a knife-wielding Taliban soldier, was confined into a small pen with a concrete floor. He had been virtually crippled by his own toenails. In a natural habitat, they would have worn down. Instead, they had grown down the bottom of his feet. Since 2003, wars and escalating unrest across the Middle East have killed hundreds of thousands of people and forced millions more to flee their homes. Thousands of animals, too, have been stranded in Baghdad, Cairo, Tripoli, Gaza, and Yemen. After the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003, Khalil was deployed to salvage the few survivors in Saddam Hussein's zoo, which once held more than 650 animals. The zoo sustained heavy damage during fighting between Iraqi's elite Republican Guard and the U.S. Army's 3rd Infantry Division. Many animals died. Several escaped in a frenzy. Here we are in the middle of the city. Everyone's been talking about urban combat for 3 months, and the next thing you know, there's camels walking through our position and monkeys in the trees, and at night you have a lion roaming free, Major Rick Nucio told CNN at the time. After the battle, the zoo was also looted. Someone stole a giraffe, Khalil told me. One of the zoo's prize, Bengal tigers, an endangered species, was later shot by an American soldier after it injured a colleague who was toying with it during an unauthorized party on the zoo grounds. Just over 24 of the Baghdad Zoo's animals survived the war. The world's worst zoo, Khalil said, was in Khan Yunis, in the Gaza Strip. Last August, he led an emergency team to close it down after only 15 animals out of hundreds survived years of mistreatment, starvation, and the spillover of conflict. Khalil transported 3 lions from Gaza through Israel to the sanctuary in Jordan. It's the first time anyone had an agreement between these 3 parties on anything, Khalil said. Nobody else gets in or out of Gaza. It proves animals can connect nations. Khalil's next challenge is a zoo in Aleppo. After its success in Mosul, FOUR PAWS received hundreds of email appeals from Syrians to help their zoo. After 6 years of war, the only survivors at the last Aleppo Zoo are 2 skeletal tigers, 2 bears, and a handful of monkeys. The owner is now a refugee, so there's a lot to figure out, Khalil told me, to see if they're healthy enough to move, whether to try taking them out through Turkey or Lebanon, where to take them, and of course, how to pay for it. FOUR PAWS is a nonprofit with 12 offices around the world. Each mission costs tens of thousands of dollars. Khalil feels that he has no choice. Zoo animals are trapped in our wars and conflict. We have no humanity, he said, if we abandon them to our guns and our hatreds.